In this video, I want to give you some tips that will hopefully make using WebAssign a little bit quicker and a little bit easier for you. I'm going to talk about how to request extensions on assignments where the due date has already passed, and I'm also going to talk about a few tips on how to enter your submissions and some details involving submissions that you probably haven't figured out yet. All right, so let's start with how do we request extensions on an assignment? So let's say I'm looking at the course, and let's say I didn't do all of the first homework 1.1, and it's past due. So I can go to past assignments, and once I go there, I can see that homework 1.1 is listed there. I'll click on request extension. I'll click automatic, and there's a lot of information there. I'll get to what this information is saying in a second. It can be a bit confusing, but just to finish up requesting the extension, I'll click accept automatic extension, and it now gives me a new due date. I'll close it, and now what I want to go to is current assignments, and I might need to refresh this. And then go back to current assignments, and now it's listed under my current assignment. So I requested an extension. It shows that it's extended. It shows me the new due date. Okay, so that screen that showed up when I requested the extension was explaining how many points you lose, but it doesn't really explain it in great detail. So you lose 20% credit for anything you submit after the due date. That means that if you had done none of the problems and you go and extend the assignment and you complete it, you can get up to 80% credit. But importantly, you retain any points you already earned. So if you had already done 50% of an assignment, you've already earned 50%, and you do the second 50% with an extension, you can earn 40% more and get up to 90%. So you're only losing points on the things you did after the due date. The other thing I want to point out, when you extend the assignment, it gives you an additional 2 weeks from the original due date. That's the amount of time you can work on it. You can use these extensions on every single assignment. So if you wanted to, every single homework assignment, on every single homework, you could extend it for 2 weeks longer and get 80% credit on anything you completed. There's no limit to the number of extensions you can use. You can use one per assignment. You can get 2 extra weeks. The thing is that if you're doing this a lot, if you find yourself regularly asking for extensions on assignments in WebAssign, that's a sign of a problem, and that means that you need to start your homework earlier. It's okay to use this occasionally, but you don't want to constantly be losing 80% credit or 20% credit. You also should rarely, if ever, be using this on full assignments. You shouldn't be in situations where you need to request an extension on an entire assignment and only get 80% credit on that assignment. The final thing I'll say about extensions, if you have a circumstance that's out of your control that causes your assignment to be late, for example, a medical emergency, and you think that you should be able to complete it for full credit, send me an email. You can still go in and request an extension in WebAssign. It'll give you a penalty, but you can just send me an email and say, hey, I requested this extension, but I think I should be able to get full credit. And if I agree with you, I can remove that penalty. So don't, if you have I don't want to say a legitimate excuse, but if you have a reason out of your control that's causing you to submit an assignment late, please email me so that you're not losing points for getting that extension. Okay, that was extensions. The next thing I want to talk about is the number of submissions that you can do on parts of problems. So here we have a problem in front of us, and I don't really care what the answers are. So let's say I look at this and I incorrectly answer some of the questions. So I say that this thing is skewed to the left, say that there are no outliers, and let's say I think that 6 ear piercings was the most frequently reported value. These are all wrong answers, but I want to see what happens when I click submit and see what I can do. All right, so I got 3 wrong answers. Now, this first one, I thought it was skewed to the left, but it turns out it's skewed to the right. And so I can go change that. I can submit again, and I'm not even going to lose any points. The second one, well, I know that the answer is yes, because there were only 2 choices. I can't resubmit this. I've gotten to the point where there's only one possible answer left. And so this one, it's not going to let me resubmit. I just lost the points. Now this is a numerical question, and so it's definitely going to let me resubmit. And so I choose, well, let's say I get it wrong again. I don't know. I choose 13. And let's submit. Okay, so now I got part A right. Part B, I still can't re-answer. C, I can answer again and hopefully get the right answer. All right, so let's summarize what just happened, because I didn't tell you while I was doing it how many attempts you get. On multiple choice questions, your number of attempts is number of choices minus 1. So on part B, there were 2 choices. That means I only get 1 attempt. On part A, there were 3 choices. That means I get up to 2 attempts. The idea is that once you've used that number of attempts, there's only 1 possible answer left, and you're not allowed to submit. For numerical answers like part C, you can submit up to 100 times, because that's the largest number that I'm allowed to set in WebAssign. So effectively unlimited submission on numerical answers, because there are an infinite number of numbers. Here's the thing. You should not be using 100 submissions on a problem, right? If you've tried something, I don't know, 5 times, 10 times, you need to come and seek out help, either from me or from someone else. There hits a point where you're entering so many things, even once you finally get it, you're not going to know how to do that problem. So if it requires more than, I don't know, 4 or 5 submissions, I recommend talking to someone and trying to figure out what you're doing wrong rather than trying a bunch of new submissions. So that's the number of submissions that you get. They're limited on multiple choice and effectively unlimited on numerical answers. The final tip I wanted to talk about, which I kind of already showed a little bit of in that problem, but I think this is a good example here. So let's say I'm trying to answer this question, and it gives me 3 different data sets, and it asks me to calculate the mean and standard deviation of each. Now, if I feel really comfortable with calculating mean and standard deviation, I could just go in and answer all 6 at once. But here's the thing. If I get part A wrong, that probably means that I don't know how to calculate the mean or the standard deviation, and so I'll probably get B and C wrong as well. And I'm going to have wasted a ton of time. And another thing that's wrong with that approach is that in order to calculate a standard deviation, you need to know the mean first. And so if you're not totally sure on how to calculate a mean, it makes sense to verify that you've got the right answer before you do the next subsequent calculation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter 1 at a time. So I think the mean of this data set is 19. And so I'm going to enter that, and I'm going to submit my answer. It didn't. I think this is because I'm in student view. Hopefully it will actually grade this. Okay, yeah. So now it graded it. Sometimes this happens. If you click submit, this is a tip I didn't mean to bring up. If you click submit and there's no check mark or X mark, it usually means that for some weird reason it did not register your answer. And so you should just resubmit. Okay, so this is the mean. And so now I'm going to use that mean to calculate the standard deviation. And notice it didn't do anything with the other problems. So I recommend that in general, you should be answering your questions 1 part at a time. Unless you're really confident in your answers, there's not a great reason to do a bunch of things, enter your answers, and then have to go back and fix something that you did a while back for the reasons I said before. There's another thing that I should point out related to this. So if we go to the next question. So I'm not really concerned with the details of the answers, but let's say I'm answering this first part, and I think the answer is list 1. So this is just a series of multiple choice questions, but they're all 2 option, or this, I guess this is 3 options. But so I know that if I get it wrong, I'm not going to get to resubmit it. And so I want to make sure I'm right. So I choose list 1 here for my answer, and I click submit. Now my answer is correct. Notice that it did not mark the ones that I didn't do anything with incorrect. It just didn't grade them. And so what's going on here is that if you don't answer a question, so you either don't select a multiple choice or you don't put a number in a numerical answer, it doesn't treat that as using an attempt on that part of the question, which is really nice. So this allows you to do the same thing I just did with numerical answers with multiple choice answers. You can answer them 1 at a time, and it's keeping track of submissions by part. And so this will allow you to go through step by step and hopefully not get a bunch of things wrong, which makes a lot of difference in multiple choice questions where you can actually lose points, right? That is, it's actually possible to run out of submissions. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to say in this video. Hopefully this was helpful in giving you a sense for both how to request an extension on an assignment, but also how to more efficiently submit your answers in WebAssign so that you can work through the homeworks quicker and get answers right faster.